Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Teleislas News with the most important news of the day. With 4 votes in favor, the budget addition requested by the departmental government is approved in first debate. The president of the budget committee made clarity on a special issue discussed during the session, where the reporter of the committee said that the administration apparently at last moment would have increased by 105% the amount requested.
After during yesterday morning in the Duma, the presentation was failed to enter in first debate project number 021 of the budgetary addition for this year. Last night during the plenary session of first debate, this project is approved with 4 votes in favor. It is worth mentioning that the commission reporter has already expressed that 20 observations had been made for the administration to take into account. Among them is to leave aside the trainings and studies that cost large amount of money in order to specify that the resources of the departmental government are invested in the best way. The president of the Budget Commission, Deputy Carolina Poa, announced the conclusion reached yesterday afternoon.
The Speaker presented us with a report in which he made some suggestions for budget cuts for certain activities. For example, the issue of the characterization of street vendors, the security study for the department, among others. If we notice, these are investments of social impact, of social fabric, arguing that these should be invested in civil works for the department.
Poa also referred to the fact that the Speaker did not take into account a document submitted by the administration where it was requested that the Raizals fund should manage 6,000 million pesos for Raizal houses affected by natural phenomena.
It sounds tritonal, but we are experiencing the rains again and we have not been able to organize the house from the previous catastrophe. Therefore, he did not take into account that document. The Providence boatmen, our Providence brothers, we talk about economically reactivating the island, but we are not going to take into account that the administration, which is the authorizer of the expenditure, said, well, yes, you're right, we're going to support our brothers 100% with the renovation of their means of work.
Finally, the president of the commission made a call to her fellow deputies, taking into account that the plenary is the highest authorities to do everything possible to include this document in the second debate.
We are in debt. The department is in debt. We always talk about the money that is ours, that is not invested, that from the departmental Duma we have not been responsible for taking it into account in the report, but it is the rapporteur's professional criterion. For this reason, today I humbly appeal to my colleagues so that when we are in the second debate, we take this document into account.
The work table is being held in the auditorium of the departmental governor's office to initiate cultural and tourist exchange between the island and its sister city, Miami.
Good practices to reduce and avoid human and economic impact in disaster related to hurricanes, prevention and fight against consumption, and crimes related to drug trafficking, economic opportunities, social health, work and culture are 3 points in which the working table began in the framework of the sister cities agreement between Miami and San Andres. The event, led by the departmental government and the Chamber of Commerce, aims to strengthen its institution and bet on further development through joint action between international partners.
Practically, it is to consolidate all the situations and strategies from their lived experience. Take lessons from these cities in security issues because, as you know, we are creating a security secretariat and the idea is to adapt the jobs that Miami gives us. Now, going into the recovery and reactivation issue, there are many issues that we could help with. As mentioned, security issues. Surely there will be companies in Miami that want to cooperate and participate, and there are student issues. We have the support of 2 universities in Miami-Dade County that are joining this project according to international agreements.
This agreement also included scholarship and tourism production so that the name of the island can be taken internationally and so it can help the reactivation of the island. The meeting will end this Saturday, August 28, with a visit to the most iconic and touristic sites of the island.
And in order to ensure water supply in all sectors, Veolia presented the schock plan they are implementing in the department.
Hello, Lisa and Aldi TV viewers. I say hello from here from the Lux Bite sector because in the last hours, Veolia's water of the archipelago sent a message to all the community, especially they who use the sewage system in our department, that they are working in a contingency plan that can make that all the water go to all the sector of the island. This is what this contingency plan is about. The entity announced that changes in supply schedules and temporary service suspension in some sectors during the last few weeks have been made due to ruptures in the impulsion pipe that carries water from the desalination plant built in the located sector of Lux Bight to Mission Hill Cistern. Taking into account the changes in the schedules and seeking to comply with the provision of service, Veolia presents this shock plan, which consists of supplying water to the affected sectors like Barrick, Limbaland Cove, Bar, Costa Rica, Schooner Bight, Mission Hill, Schoolhouse, Natanya, among others, through tank cars. It should be noted that the companies contracted by Findeter to renovate the network and build the 50 desalination plant are being constantly supervised by the company to ensure quality and compliance with the agreed-upon time schedule. However, due to the complexity of the work, delays have been caused by difficulties in the terrain, high water pressures, among others. It should also be noticed that other important works being executed by Findeter, which will facilitate and improve the provision of the service, are the startup of the Lux Bight desalination plant, which will increase water production capacity by 43%, and the delivery of a new water storage tank.
Veolia also wants to tell the community that they are sorry about the delays that have been presented in the supply of the water in our department. This is all the information we report from this sector of the island. Continue to listen studio with more information.
Thank you, Alice. And in order to improve the flow of traffic on the island's roads, the Secretary of Mobility seeks to implement strategic plans for vehicles so that cargo vehicles have safe routes for both drivers and other road actors.
The Secretary of Mobility, Luis Torres James, indicated that companies will have to account for the safe routes and other plans regarding the flow of commercial fleets on the island.
Estamos con la exigencia del Plan Estratégico de Seguridad Vial.
We are requiring the Strategic Road Safety Plan in which, according to Law 1503 in its Article 12, all companies that have more than 10 vehicle fleets, whether drivers or suppliers, they must have a strategic plan implemented.
The Secretary explained what the strategic plan is about.
Ya nosotros hemos extendido en estos momentos 50 oficias.
We have already extended it for 50 companies. They have a deadline to start the implementation of their strategic plan, which consists of designing safe routes for the movement of drivers so that they can provide a good service of their economic activity framed in this strategic plan.
Companies that do not comply with the implementation of the strategic vehicle plan may incur penalties, such as the demobilization of their vehicles.
Our community calls on the national government to rectify the list of intervened houses, where several of them that appear on this list were not intervened by any government entity.
Elderly people and the Raizals community affected by the hurricanes made a call to the government after the publication of a list of intervened houses where, according to them, there are houses that were fixed with their own money and not from the state. In this regard, the Raizals leader Augusto Francis spoke on behalf of those who were affected.
Hace algunos días publiqué un listado de 167 personas.
167 people with their names whose houses were intervened with the resources provided by the National Directorate of Risk Management. Several people have been calling me to inform me that their houses have not been intervened with the government resources but with their own resources.
Francis also gave more details regarding the citizen complaint.
Nosotros estamos llamándole la atención.
We are calling the attention of the competent authorities and the departmental government so that there is clarity and transparency explaining the community what happened with these resources and the homes that were not legally intervened by them. 1,000 million more have been transferred to attend the homes of the elderly and people with disabilities.
The Raizals leaders announced that they will be monitoring to ensure that the money allocated for the housing is invested in the homes that were really affected and call on the entities to show those interventions that were really made by the state.
In order to prevent damage to homes on the island due to the falling of trees, Carolina Corporation is carrying out an initiative that seeks to counteract these emergencies.
Given the strong winds that are registered in the archipelago due to the rainy season in the country, the Environmental Corporation of the island has established the strategy of emergency tree cutting, where those homes that are at risk of being affected by nearby trees may request the entity to remove them.
These authorizations, we take them out in the least time that we can. It will be at least 3 days. The person have to come to the corporation with a letter. They say what they want to do and where it is with their phone number so that we can ubicate them. So the technical group can go to the house and check up the trees and identify what is the risk it presents to the house or to the neighborhood. The corporation, they authorize the proprietors from the land or from the house to cut down or to trim the trees so long as they are the owners of them.
It should be noted that for each tree that is cut down or trimmed, the owner of the property must plant a tree in a safe area as compensation to restore the environmental balance of the archipelago.
Much attention, the Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology and Environmental Studies, IDEAM, informed the National System of Disaster Risk Management, the National Environmental System, and the entire community of the islands that the alert level of tropical storm named Eva has been lowered from warning to ended since it is located 829 kilometers north of San Andres. This storm, which affected the archipelago with strong winds and rains in recent days, is moving northwest with a speed of 24 kilometers per hour. It continues its trajectory through the Caribbean Sea while it moves away from national territory. Possible rains will be moderate and of low intensity, although thunderstorms and wind gusts may occur. And in other news, the Ministry of Culture and British Council have joined forces to create a project to strengthen communication processes in these territories.
In view of the pandemic caused by the health emergency resulting from COVID-19 in 2021, training spaces have been created and will be taught virtually in the Pacific, Caribbean, and Magdalena River regions, and will have 2 face-to-face models in the archipelago of San Andres, Providence, and Queclina. This with the aim of strengthening the transformation process in the field of communication, transmedia, digital platforms, multi-screen formats, and the use of technology in a cross-cutting manner for the youth of the country, taking into account the approach of population issues, among other issues related to the cultural sector applied to different formats.
In this sense, we are calling creators, communicators, digital content producers, and cultural managers of the country to participate in the call for territories in dialogue so that they can be part of this training process of narratives, sound narratives, transmedia narratives, and audiovisual narratives in the community cultural movement. The call will be open until September 12th, and people between 18 and 32 years of age can participate.
Those interested should express their interest in participating in the training process by filling out the online form in which they briefly and concisely express their motivation to be part of the program. For more information, please write to territoriosendialogo.mincultura.go.co.
And now let's learn about other facts that are making news in our brief news sections of today.
The Environmental Corporation Coralina conditioned this week in the Old Palm Mangrove Regional Park 1,168 propagules or red mangrove seeds to grow in the satellite nursery located in Old Providence as part of the Operation Black Crab. Once the right conditions are given, will be planted in places affected by Hurricane Iota. Uniformed members of the National Police conducted preventive campaigns against homicide and personal injury, where through posters awareness was raised among tourists and residents in the Sprat Bight area, as well as some basic rules of behavior against possible issues of intolerance that may end in fights or unfortunate events. The Ministry of Culture and the Secretariat of Culture of San Andres are launching the diploma course in Management and Formulation of Cultural Projects at EAN University, which aims to promote the development of cultural management by strengthening the skills, knowledge, and competencies of local actors of the formulation and strategic management of cultural projects that contribute and help in the reactivation of the sector.